Choosing the songs wasn't that difficult, really. I knew all these songs so well. It was the ones I left out was more difficult than the ones to choose, really. I could do another album, another 10 of Kings and another 10 of Jess. These are the ones that are closest to me, and even if some of them have been done before, I don't really care, because they're the ones I love and the ones I learned to play with, really, when I was a kid. So it was fairly easy to choose, yeah.
Well, I'm ready as a man can be.
I met the great B.B. King in 1978, and we spent 3 days on the road together. I was doing an interview with him, and he was amazing, and we kept in touch right up until we lost him. The last time I saw him, in fact, was on the B.B. King Gary Moore tour, so that was I look back with that with a certain amount of poignancy. Last time I saw them both, really, so especially playing live. I met Freddie King by accident when he was touring in the late 60s. I went to see Freddie King with Chicken Shack, and I got there early, and there was a guy with his head in a transit, and I was looking for the stage door kind of thing, and it was Freddie King fixing the transit van. He had his head in the engine, and I couldn't talk to him. I was so gobsmacked, and but I did say a few pathetic words probably to him. I saw him loads of times after that, but I never got that close to him. But I did see him many times play live. I saw Albert King live. Never met him. So 2 out of 3. Well, that's not too bad for Kings. The other guys, not really, because they all were a little bit more older, and I never got the chance to go and see them in person so much. I did see John Lee Hooker once, and I saw Muddy Waters once when I was not very old, 17 or 18 probably, and unforgettable, irreplaceable.
You can't judge a daughter by looking at her mother. You can't judge a book by looking at the cover.
John Gordon is a very fine blues bass player. He knows all the guys, and you know, whether it's Motown or old 60s Chicago stuff, and he'll say, do you want it in so-and-so style, or you want me to play in this guy's style? And he's really, you know, he's a connoisseur, really. Bob Hadrill I've played with for a long time in sessions and stuff. Very tasteful piano player, not too flashy, plays what's necessary for the tracks, which I really like. Jim Russell I'd never worked with before we recorded these albums. He was recommended by John, and so I did think about having a couple of other guys, but John strongly recommended Jim when he saw the list of songs, and he was correct. Jim was absolutely fantastic.
If I don't love you, baby, I know that grits ain't grocery, eggs ain't poultry, and Mona Lisa was a man.
I think it comes from within you, because John Lee Hooker again, what did he say? If it's in him, it's got to come out, kind of thing. And I think that's right. I was lucky when I was 14, 15, I was given albums by these guys on the Chess label and, you know, B.B. King. And so when I was learning to play the guitar as a beginner, I was learning from the stock right stuff, really. I mean, I had my Searchers albums and I had my Hollies albums, but once somebody turned me on to this blues thing, you know, which was via the Yardbirds, really, I have to say. It was a whole British thing and B.B. King said to me once, he said, well, without those British guys, the blues would have been gone a long time ago, which I found very profound coming from him. But he believes that, you know, Eric Clapton, Peter Green, Jeff Beck, he mentioned by name. And he said a lovely thing. He said, some people can, white guys can play the blues, but not that many can feel it. And he put those guys into a category, and he added me on the end of it as well, which was, and continues to be a delight. And, you know, I hope he got the check. But I think it comes from within. It's like a vibrato playing the guitar, you know, you can't really teach it. You either have it or you don't. Everybody has their own version of it. But the ones that have it a certain way, when they watch people who don't quite have it, they know the difference, but are usually polite enough not to say anything. I think when we wrote songs in the Whitesnake in those glory days of the first lineup of Whitesnake, it was the other way around. We were using their material to put into our music, and hence there'll always be an element of rhythm and blues from that period in everything I write, and the way that I play and the way that the rest of the guys in the band, we all came from the same era, really, the same stock. And it was easy to play that stuff and say to John Law, well, what about this? And he would go, well, what about this? And that was usually a success, should we say. Same with when Ian Pace came in, he loved playing that stuff. I mean, give him a Buddy Rich album and he's really happy, that we weren't doing that, but he felt playing. He hadn't really played that much kind of rock blues stuff, really. Purple was more rock stuff. And he just loved it, and it was great to be able to write with people like that, knowing they're going to be the musicians who are playing the material. It was, a no-brainer, really. That Ian Pace is going to be playing drums on this, and John Law's playing keyboards, and no matter how good the backing track was, you knew that Coverdale would come in and top it, basically. That's what he told me to say, anyway. Are you kidding, David? There you go. Like you did before. Joe and I have a very good working relationship. We tried in the pandemic last year to do almost a virtual thing with, it was a disaster. And so because of that, the follow-up to Royalty features one song from Joe and I, as opposed to, I think, 8 on the Royalty album, where we were like we are now, face to face. And I pretty much took in ideas, really, that were recorded, but I didn't play in the recordings, because I sometimes think that if you play a recorded demo, it gives you an automatic slant on things. Whereas I would play him a sequence of chords and say, well, that's kind of a nice minor bluesy thing, but I've used this chord instead of that. And he would go, well, we don't, Americans, you guys write differently. And that was the great connection, I think. And hence we came out with, I think, 7 or 8 really great songs. And of course, his band are just wonderful. To think they've got Reese Winans playing my music, all over the world and playing on an album, just still convince myself. All of them, all those guys are such great players. But writing with Joe is, we'll do it again, but we have to do it face to face, really. 2 Les Pauls and a couple of Marshall amps cranked up in a room, and we can make a lot of noise and come out with some good songs again. I hope so, anyway. I think that the Inspiration series is a nice idea. That wasn't my idea, that was the Conquest guys. But Inspirations, and when I provided them with the material for Chess and Kings, makes a lot of sense. If it inspires people who play instruments or sing to want to discover Freddie King or Albert King or Muddy Waters, I'm trying to think of people a little bit more obscure, Jimmy Rogers, for instance, because they'll find out that Jimmy Rogers is an unknown quantity who's written many, many songs they will know over the years, or they've learned them from Gary Moore, or they've learned them from Walter Trout, or they've learned them from Joe Bonamassa, or from me. And then you go, hang on, you've got to go back a little bit further, which is what I was able to do when I was 15 and 16. By the guy saying, well, I started to look at those little brackets where it had names underneath the songs, and I asked, well, what does that mean? They said, well, that's the guy who wrote the song. And I thought, oh, writing songs, that's a good idea, kind of thing. Then I realised that was on all the Beatles albums as well. These little things that were very obvious these days weren't obvious, 50 years ago. 50 years ago. But I think if I can inspire one guitar player in one country in the world, every country in the world, to pick up the guitar and say, I like to play that kind of thing, then I'm putting back in what I've been taking out for 50 years, basically. Maybe I know there's a lot of people out there who play guitar because of Whitesnake. Well, that's because of what I learned when I was 16. So if I'm passing the torch, I think that's a phrase people use. It's really good. the important thing to me, as I will always say to people, is be yourself and express yourself the best way. It's no good trying to emulate these kinds. You know, I spent years trying to be Rory Gallagher. Take it from me, you can't do it. Gary Moore paid me a great compliment when Reddy and William came out. He heard Reddy and William on the radio driving back from a gig, and he heard the guitar solo, and he said to me, "Oh, I knew it was Whitesnake from the solo." He said, "Because I knew you were playing." And I said to him, "Thank you very much." He said, "For what?" He didn't mean to, I don't think he meant to pay me that great, but I took it as a great compliment, you know. And I think that's important, you know, with people like Joe Bonamassa. I mean, you know it's him. It could be other people, but then you think, hang on, there's something there. No, he doesn't do that. You know, there'll be a bit of Eric Johnson in there, there'll be a bit of B.B. King, there'll be a bit of everybody, but a lot of what comes out, hopefully, is Joe Bonamassa, I think. Well, not hopefully, that's what comes out, to me anyway. And when we were writing, going back to your previous question, that was what I was conscious of as well. He asked me if I wanted to play on the album, and I said, no, I don't think so. Don't think you really need me on the album. So I did sing on it a bit, but there you go.